saying.
All right. Well, welcome to Whiskey, Weights, and Whey. I'm Chuck.
I'm Zach.
And if you're new to the channel, because we've gained a significant amount of subscribers in the last 48 hours or 72 hours, this is a podcast where we drink whiskey, talk about mental health, fitness, and then we pretty much bullshit the last 30 minutes or so.
Yeah.
How you been?
It's a good take. I've been really great. Just really busy with work. Just things are progressing really well with that.
Yep.
Busy in private practice.
I noticed you had a lot of people.
Yeah.
Good.
It's good. Yeah, absolutely enjoying that piece. Trying to get my fitness back in. I feel like I'm finally back to lifting like I used to, but boy, oh boy, my cardio is suffering right now. And I want to blame the heat so bad. And I'm going to blame the heat a little bit, but man, I got to get back on it.
It's easy to blame the heat, that's for sure. So what's your fitness goals right now?
Really just build a really good base for the DecaFit that me and your lovely wife are going to be doing in October.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's right. Man, I was looking at that the other day, just the stuff that goes into it. You know, in the sign up, you have to volunteer after. Like, I need to incorporate that into some of my strongman stuff. Where, you know, if you sign up to do the show, you have to volunteer hour time after, like they do.
No, I mean that's what Alex is like. I need to get Chuck to do this. It's like it's kind of a smart concept, but
I wouldn't get anybody signing up. I don't think.
Well, you know, I will say, like in the ultra world, on these big races, like the big 100-milers that you got to put in a lottery for, if you get chosen, sometimes there's a requirement that you got to put in like 8 hours worth of trail maintenance or trail work, or you've got to volunteer 8 hours and get it approved and send it in after you register to make sure that you're kind of giving back to the community. Yeah. So I like that concept. Sometimes it can just be like, ugh, I don't really want to do it. I don't really have the time, but it genuinely builds that community aspect of it.
And I will say we've got some good people who donate their time to our shows and stuff.
Yeah.
So I just feel bad requiring it. Like, if you want to help, I would take it every day, all day, but I don't want to force it on anybody.
It kind of rubbed me the wrong way when it's like you were required to do this. And I was like,
Yeah.
it kind of makes me not want to do the event if you're going to force me to do it, but whatever.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and pour our drinks for today.
Okay.
We talked a little bit before the show. Do you want to do? I'm guessing we still want to do Still Heaven. Is that what it's called?
Still Haven?
Still Haven. I thought it was Heaven. Does that sound good to you?
Yeah, sounds great. It's been a minute since I've had some whiskey.
What did you work out today?
I did kind of a cardio medley with a bunch of like sandbag reverse lunges, mixed in with half-mile runs, mixed in with box jumps, sandbag burpees, rowing mixed in.
Sandbag burpees.
It's just like it's like a eight exercise round, and I did it twice. Turned out to be like 54 minutes of good work.
Yeah, I was still trying to nurse this shoulder, so I actually got to press a little bit. Was able to get up to over 100 pounds on the chest press machine. I was excited about that.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
You got a recent PR too, though, didn't you?
Yesterday, I got a 10 rep on deadlift. So chin.
Chin.
Yeah, we are doing this live, so if anybody's watching, chime in the comment section. Pour your glass of whiskey. Try to ignore my white, pasty thighs sticking up in the shot, blinding people. So did you notice? Were you here the other day when May was working out?
Yeah, I was. When we all cheered for her?
Yeah. So she has gotten dead set on doing a strongman show.
That's awesome.
I mentioned to her the other day. I showed her a video. I said, "Is this something that you might want to do?" She goes, "Yeah." I said, "Well, there is a kids comp in the area." She goes, "I want to do it." You know, she's only 4, but by the time the next one comes around, I think she'll be 5.
Is that the age requirement?
It's not the requirement, but that's kind of the average, 5 and up.
Yeah.
But I do know at some of these shows they fudge I don't know if they changed the birth certificate or anything, but I know there's some 4-year-olds out there. May is definitely strong enough to compete, and she's big enough to compete. But she came out there, we were doing a frame carry, and she started running with the dumbbells in her hands. She's like, "I can do that."
That's awesome.
Oh, yeah. Which is good, because, I mean, getting them in early like that there's so many studies that show children in the fitness world early on,
Yeah.
not just mentally but physically healthy. Having active parents, specifically active moms. There, I can't remember the exact study, but it was moms who took care of themselves physically. The children were whatever times more likely to be healthy growing up. Even if they did kind of indulge in snacks and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
it was just having that presence. And Alex is phenomenal at doing that. She's a great role model for the girls, and
Yeah.
very happy to have her. But then them growing up in a gym,
Well, they're also seeing that movement and exercise is a normal part of life,
Yes.
and it's just like an everyday occurrence. And I think a lot of kids don't really get to see that concept. I mean, because I feel like even PE is just kind of taking a back seat, and it's not as involved, I guess, as it used to be.
yeah, I've seen there's been kids that come through here and they don't even do PE. Like they have an elective of a different class or something.
Yeah.
And we quit doing the presidential fitness tests and stuff in the schools. I remember doing those in elementary school. We didn't do the full, like we didn't have to run the mile or anything, but we had to do the sit and stretch and reach. We had to do how many pull-ups you could do, push-ups, sit-ups, and we did that once a year.
Yeah.
Did y'all do that?
Yeah, because I remember how awful I was at sit and stretch. I could never get past my toes.
Yeah, I was horrible at it too.
I could do everything else really well, but I was
good at
not
the
it.
push-ups and sit-ups. I was not good at the pull-ups or the sit and reach. I'm a lot better at pull-ups now.
But no, I think, and I think, there's people are like, oh, well, they don't need to be lifting, they don't need this. Yeah, I kind of agree that they don't need to be like lifting super heavy, but like this is a great time to get the basics down with light weights, and you're getting daily movement in every single.
Yeah, when we were live streaming the Georgia's Strongest Man, they had a kids comp mixed in with it, and there was somebody in the comment section. They were like, "This is going to stunt every one of their growth." And I was like, "No, it's not. That's a myth. That is something that's gone away by."
J-Mac, that V sit and reach is all that kept me from getting the presidential. Same, absolutely. I just couldn't do it, and I guarantee if you set me down on that thing today, I still couldn't do it.
Oh, I haven't informed you. J-Mac is AI. He is not a real person. So he comments on a lot of our stuff on other shows.
Is he listening? Because he should have disclosed that, J-Mac, before I look like an idiot.
Nobody believes he's real. So, J-Mac, I appreciate you joining us. I hope you got you a glass of whiskey to join. I figure we have a few other people who, last night, we went off on a tangent on the Strongman show.
There we go.
Because Trey doesn't drink. And we made a joke, like, since we've hit 2,000 subscribers, he needs to come in person and take a shot with me before doing a show. And there's Brandon Ward. Hopefully he's drinking whiskey to numb the pain.
Well, he says he won't know till tomorrow.
Yeah. But I told Trey, I was like, come have a shot. And then the comment section blew up. We hit a peak viewership. Everybody started talking about their favorite drinks and stuff. And Trey was like, y'all a bunch of heathens, alcoholics. I was like, yeah, come watch the tomorrow night show. So appreciate y'all joining. Jamie said, I promise I'm not AI. That's exactly what AI would say. But no, getting back to like the role model, and it's not just having that role model or having somebody in your life set a good example. There's studies now. There was one back in I think February or March of this year that showed children who were more active and physically active, not just outside playing, but working out, running, doing physical activity for health benefits, also saw a sharp decrease in depression.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's a lot of studies that show like just being physically active on top of a lot of other things too can help with depression.
Yeah, I mean, like, that's why I preach holistic things when I go
Yes.
through, like, my class. I'm like, what does your exercise program look like? And most of them are like, really don't do much. I'm like, I guarantee if you start doing a minimal amount, you're going to see an increase because it's releasing chemicals in your body they're happy hormones.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I think you're right. Like, it's important to have those role models or at least support, to get out and be active. Like, my parents were by no means athletes, but they always encouraged me to get outside, play sports. They would take me to, my games and show up for practice. And so it was always this encouragement of get outside and move.
Yeah.
Same thing with my sister. And I think that's why we both are just like, natural athletes. We're drawn to movement.
Yeah, when growing up, we didn't have the urge. Like I don't know about you, but I didn't have the urge to sit inside all day. You know, I had video game systems that I love to play, but what I would do is I'd play during the day, or when I woke up. 'Cause I'd
Yeah.
sleep till like noon during the summer, but get up in the afternoon, play outside until the sun went down. Then I go inside and play video games all night long. That's why I stayed sleep till noon. I stayed up till 4 in the
Yeah.
morning. But I never
Is
had
this
the-
why you won't get up at 5 with me?
No, I get up early now. Like I was up early enough to train somebody at 6:30 this morning. I prefer if I don't need to go out hiking in the morning that early.
Right.
So no, y'all can have that. Oh, but there's so many things. I guess depression would really be the topic of today. How to combat it without having to resort to medications or
Yeah.
even alcohol.
And a lot of people do not want to take medications because, and I always tell people again, I view medications as a tool and a resource and not the end all be all. And so, sometimes we need that medication to get us back to somewhat of a functional level. But at the same time, let's be actively inserting behaviors and actions that we can control to see if it's going to benefit us.
Like I agree 100% with that because I personally tested a few different things. I was going through some bad headspace just a few months back before I got my hormones right. But one thing that I was able to do before getting my blood work and everything tested, I started implementing creatine, vitamin D, and I maintain my physical activity. But creatine and vitamin D have both shown tons of cognitive and antidepressant symptoms. So like just something as cheap and effective as creatine and D3, K2, vitamin D can make a world of a difference.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
I highly encourage anybody who is feeling, run down, lethargic, all those depressive symptoms, try just upping your creatine dosage, add a little D3, move, be active, and then maybe speak to somebody, counselor like Zach. Don't just dive right into medications.
Because everybody believes that there's a magic fix, and I'm a firm believer of doing the basics and doing the fundamentals and doing them well and consistently. People are like, I tried to get up and exercise for 3 days and then I just didn't feel anything. I was like, it's 3 days. It's like, and so it's a very delicate line because you're dealing with somebody that's dealing with depression. And so you don't want to push them too hard where they just like, I'm shutting down completely. So it is about like that solution focused approach and saying, hey, let's work on behavioral activation. What is in your control? What can you manage? And what's a realistic approach? Some people are like, hey, I want to work out every day. Is this realistic coming from haven't worked out in 2 months? Because it may lead to injury. B, lead to burnout. So let's say, hey, let's start out working 3 days a week, 30 minutes.
Was it 21 days to build a habit?
They say that.
Yeah.
But then you look at nutrition.
Hang on, you said they say that. Like, do you believe that, or do you have a?
I mean, there's a lot of scientific research by it. I just feel like it really falls on the individual and their mindset.
Okay.
Because for me, if I can get in the habit of doing something for like 3 or 4 straight days, I'm good. Like I can just implement it, but I think that also bases on how disciplined I've been in the past. That it's just easier for me to say, hey, this is a concept that I'm going to do and I'll stick with it. I don't have to relearn how to create that discipline in that area.
So let me ask you this: do you have a somewhat addictive personality?
No.
Do you think it would be easier for someone to be disciplined like that, with a low addictive personality or a high addictive personality? Like I feel like it can go both ways. If somebody has an addictive personality and they get stuck on something, they can keep going and keep doing it repetitively. But at the same time, if you have the discipline not to get addicted to anything, could you like force yourself into a solid routine?
Yeah, I think it again. It goes back to the individual person. Because you got to think a lot of people in endurance sports,
Yeah.
they are coming from backgrounds that potentially are addictive. So a lot of people that will substitute endurance running or endurance sports, they're substituting that in the place of
That's kinda what I
drug
was-
use or
yeah.
alcohol use. Because it's kind of like that all or nothing attitude sometimes. So, I mean, yeah, it can be a fine line because it is. You've got to make sure that you're not overdoing it because you can overdo anything.
Yeah. J-Mac said, I think combining an objective performance goal would help people realize how they need to keep exercising and to reap the benefits. Yeah. So we did a whole seminar on goal setting. Like you did a hour and a half class on that.
Yeah.
Really good material. I still reference a lot of that when I'm working with my clients. Having one hyper focus on the stuff when I first get excited about something. Yeah, I tend to do the same thing. I get overly, excited and I hyper focus, and I'll put a ton of unnecessary time sometimes into things.
Brandon saying a diet can make a big difference in how you feel too.
Yeah.
Yeah, you get caught up in the easy processed food because it's quick, it's easy, but
yeah.
it's just like, man, it's just a quick way to let yourself down and feel terrible.
You know what I've ate today? I'm gonna
Do I wanna
blast
know?
myself. Hey, 2 protein bars and 2 beef sticks, like all processed, 100%, like prepackaged foods. I have not had a real meal today, so yeah, it does make a difference. Because I do not feel great today. But it was just convenient, quick. I didn't have to leave the office to go get something. Had to pack my lunch or anything like that.
So what does that fall back onto?
That's discipline.
Lack of discipline, lack of preparedness.
Or broke. I already had it. I didn't have to go spend money.
That's true.
So that was the other thing too. So that was discipline. I disciplined myself into not spending extra money. But the whole getting into a funk too. When I hurt my shoulder, we're going on 3 weeks now. It was a little over 2 Saturdays ago, and man, I could have really went down hard. I could have just said, screw it, I'm done training. I'm not even going to do Alabama's. But luckily, I had the support group around me.
Right.
Like, Mr. Keith let me borrow some stuff, and I was able to get my hands on some BP 157 I think BPC 157 and TB 500, and that stuff right there is a miracle drug. I hate that it's not easily and readily available to anybody who needs it, but getting that, doing what I needed to do, listen to Alex, didn't try to push through pain, didn't
Right.
try to find pain. Now I'm back a little over 2 weeks, and I'm actually starting to be able to press now, so I'm excited about that.
But that is, and that's because you've experienced it in the past and you've reflected on past experiences. So now you're making a more informed decision when you can't lift.
Well, not just my past experiences, but the people I have around me, like the support group, and Alex being the number one who's like, don't do this because I know you want to try to push it, you want to see where you're at, you want to see how you're progressing, and having that, I guess that Jiminy Cricket on my shoulder, like, hey,
Yeah.
let me bring you back to common sense. It's been huge.
It's important to have somebody that's gonna not be a yes man. That's
Yes.
gonna hold you accountable, because it's not because they're doing it to hold you at a certain standard and a certain level, because they know they love and care about you.
Mhm.
It's important to have in your corner.
And I'm glad we built that around here because, Keith has experienced it. Brandon got the brunt of it today. I started yelling at him. I said, don't find pain. Don't search out the pain. Go home, ice, rest. J-Mac said he has spent more money as an adult, more money than an adult should have on Beyblades, Yu-Gi-Oh, Magic Cards, for example. Yeah. I had a Dragon Ball Z game on my phone. It's the first mobile phone game I've ever spent money on.
Yeah.
I had to stop, though. So I can feel you there. But, finding the discipline and the support group and everything, it's really important, especially when you have that, oh shit moment. I hurt myself, or I backslid a little bit, addiction, anything like that. So
Yeah, I remember when I got burnt out of ultra running, it was literally mile 25 of a 100-mile race. I was just like, I do not want to do this anymore.
for the people who are new to the channel, or J-Mac, if you didn't know, Mr. Zach here is a very accomplished ultra marathon runner. He was sponsored and won multiple 100-mile races. So he's probably the most athletic athlete that I know.
You has been, but
It wasn't a has been. You decided to stop. It's not like you got beat and you got crappy at
bitter.
it.
I just
And quit. You decided you done
after
what you
a
wanted to do.
decade, I
Yeah.
was like, I've done everything that I feel like I need
Exactly.
to do. But it was like in that moment, I was just like, I knew I wanted to shut down, and I'm done with it. It took me like 6 months to transition back into fitness. That was the longest break in not being active. That was before I joined the gym.
Yeah.
But when I broke my hand recently, it was like
Oh, yeah.
the moment I hit the ground, I was like, hey, I'm going to be okay because I've got a good support group. I know what this is going to be like, and I'm going to have to suspend certain aspects of fitness for about 2 months, 3 months.
But you didn't stop coming. That's another thing. People get hurt. They fall off. We lose them from the gym. They quit just showing up.
Yeah.
But there's so much you can do. I don't care what injury you have. You can find something to do.
I just couldn't do anything for the first 2 weeks because my hand was so swollen.
Well, you also didn't want to get sweaty in the cast and stuff, and I understand that. But you hurt your upper body, you do lower body. You hurt your back, you do extremities, arms, hands, like forearms, stuff like that. There's other
even
things
just going out for basic walks.
Yes.
It's something so simple, and I took that time to transition to create other things like build my private practice, build my website. So like, there's always something that you can kind of shift momentarily and just say, hey, I'm gonna put pauses on this piece of my discipline or habits and pick it right back up. But I think it's the let me pick it right back up thing that a lot of people struggle with.
Yeah. Well, before we get too far away from it, I wanted to go back just a little bit because creatine lately I have been just finding one article after another, looking at the research paperwork. Have you seen all the stuff that they're saying that creatine can do?
I've seen where like it improves cognitive functioning.
Not just that. They're talking about there is some studies that are showing reversal of
Alzheimer's and dementia. I saw a brief. Some of my friend Sunny, she sent me that.
Yeah. So if you and your family or friends, anybody you know has family that's experiencing or has a history of dementia or Alzheimer's, make them start taking doses of creatine right now. It's the cheapest. Honestly, it's the cheapest supplement you could take that has such great benefits. I've even seen there's a new study. Sorry, they just came out from Germany. If you have going on 21 hours of sleep deprivation, that's what they used. That was their time frame. They had people with 21 hours of sleep deprivation. They took a mega dose, which was like 0.3 grams per kilogram. For me, it would come out to around like 35 grams of creatine. So,
Oof.
Yeah, like a mega dose.
In one
go.
Oh.
They said within 3 hours, they saw improved cognitive function. They saw improved memory and clarity and speed of mental performance. And it was essentially saying sleep deprivation can be counteracted by a mega dose of creatine. So I tested it out the other day. I spent way more time driving than I needed to for work. Got no sleep the next night and everything. And I took 5 scoops of creatine in a dose. And honest to God, I felt like a normal day. So, I mean, if you're ever having issues with it, I highly recommend doing that. Don't do it every day, obviously. Your body can't process that much. But there is also something else that everybody says 5 grams. But your size, my size, and Trey's size, not all the same. Our bodies need different amounts. Base it off your body weight. So there's calculators that you can use. Mine actually comes out and says I need around 12 to 15 a day.
I think I take, after my creatine, then I've got protein that has 2.5. I take about 7 or 8.
So that's
grams.
probably appropriate
Yeah.
for you, especially as active as you are.
Yeah. So that's like my daily regimen.
Let's see. I got some comments. Students at my church. When I was in high school, after 24 hours of clarity, just running Mountain Dew. Running that song. So he does a ruck every Thursday morning. How many miles? 2 miles?
I always do about almost 3 miles.
3 miles, and then they end it with a cold plunge, which ain't gonna be cold lately because
Man,
it's
it's
hot.
like bath water. I went out there this morning and dipped.
Brandon said my shaky legs may be better now from the creatine. Still a little too soon to know, but the leg extensions the other day was smooth. That's great. So I mean, there is so much from like a neurological aspect that creatine has made. We're only just finding out that supplement's been around forever. I remember taking it in high school. Like I had little capsules of creatine that I would take.
I remember my parents didn't want me to take creatine because they thought it was like equivalent to steroids. Like
Yes.
you're doing something else. Like, let's sigh.
Oh, yeah. Well, there was another study that you said. You saying that makes me just reminded me of it. I'm not drink that much.
It's the creatine.
Yes, the creatine. So putting it in your post workout versus just taking it normal dosage showed a point. It was a 2.9 or something. I got to go back and look at the exact number, but there was a significant increase in the amount of muscle growth and like energy replenishment for taking it post workout versus just naturally, like taking it throughout the day. So I've been adding a scoop into my post workout, and it was the metabolic rate. It was 0.9% higher metabolic rates for people who were taking it in their post workout. So I'm not saying you're gonna get skinny or shredded off of it, but hey, it might help. Let's see. Trying something differently. Currently on supplement I take it daily is potassium because I cramp. 2 meals normally. They used to say it would make your kidneys fail. So the only thing I've ever experienced from excessive creatine consumption was headaches, and I know why.
You not drinking enough water.
Well, I was drinking nothing but sodas. I was in high school. I was drinking Mountain Dews, and every drink, or it was either Mountain Dew, sweet tea, or chocolate milk. You know, that's all we had at school. We had water.
Little spider monkey.
Yeah, I come at you like a spider monkey. But I had massive migraines. Well, if you drink enough water to flush your system, I mean, especially if you're drinking a ton of water already, you probably need to up your creatine anyway because you're pissing it out. Your body's just flushing it through.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't think there's a lot of studies that show any true kidney damage, but at least I haven't come across any.
I mean, creatine is one of the most researched supplements that are on the market, and like, there's just not a lot of adverse reactions or effects.
If I had to give recommendations to anybody, like if you're not taking anything, take creatine and D3, D3K2, vitamin D, and I would suggest anybody that's just starting taking it, take around 5,000 IU's of the D3. Those two combined cost you maybe $30 a month, because 100 scoops of that creatine that I use cost me $38. That'll last me 2 months.
Yeah.
A bottle of D3 at Target was like $10. So I mean, and it had 60 tablets. I think the myth came from people same as creatine, which it probably spawned from people like like older people who said, like your parents, it's the same as steroids. I had somebody ask me one time because I was recommending them a protein and creatine supplement, and they were like, "Oh, is that steroids?" I was like, "No."
Like, I was just like, Mom, look at me. Like, just physically look at my build.
Yeah.
I'm not on any steroids. I'm the one that's getting tested every time the drug test happened because my coach knows that I'm not on steroids.
Yeah.
Like, they know this for fact.
Alex says she's going to rip for a 74-year-old. Yeah, we're getting it for our parents. Alex, mom and dad. She has dementia that runs in her family. So, I mean, granted, they were like 98 to 100 years old when they started having that dementia. I told Alex, I said, your average lifespan in your family and mine is very different. I said, I'm middle-aged. You're still early. So I was like, I'm sorry, baby. You're probably going to outlive me by like 40 years. You're going to have to remarry. Brandon said, it was 10 to 15 years ago. I don't know about the studies, but coaches I had would say, oh, man, coaches in high school, and I'm not saying anything bad, but the lack of knowledge that they had astounded me. My coaches pulled me in the office one day, and they were like, Chuck, we see you take in stuff every afternoon when you get in the field house. If you were to piss in a cup right now, would you flag? Because they didn't want me to actually tell them, but they were like, if we get busted, we got it. I was like, Coach, I brought the box in there. It was Animal Pack, you know, the
I
brand.
remember, yeah.
And it was just a multivitamin set, and it had creatine in it. And they were like, "So is that steroids?" I was
Oh my
like,
gosh.
"Coach, it's vitamins."
Well, it's because our coaches teach history and our coaches teach social studies. Like,
None of them taught health. The only one I had that taught health did sex ed, and that was it. And I'm pretty sure like we didn't have a sex ed class. It was weird. It was really weird. Let's see, 89. Oh, well, yeah. I said 98. I had my dyslexia kicked in. So my sixth grade history teacher gave us a 10-minute speech about how creatine works, and it's not steroids in case we ever see him drinking it. Well, he was a knowledgeable high school teacher. Fin that we would take it.
yes.
What's the fin?
The amphetamines?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Funny story about that. When I was working at the body shop before it was the Y, they had a stockpile because they took it off the market.
Yeah.
Like when I was about 15 to 14 years old. I started working at the gym like the year after they officially banned it. They had a stockpile underneath the counter for like the hard bodybuilders and stuff of like the true amphetamine laced stuff. Oof. It was bad.
It's rough stuff.
Yeah, basically speed. Yes, exactly. Oh, well, I wanted to hop on a soapbox and push all of you to go buy creatine. I don't care what brand you get, but if you're looking for a brand, down in the description, there's a link to First Form. But just get it. Creatine.
The mono.
Yes, the monohydrate creatine. It's just a miracle drug at this point. It seems like that and BPC 157. I just can't talk enough about that. I'm going to start a daggone not a GoFundMe, but the petition to get it legalized.
Yeah.
Well, typically at the halfway mark, we start having fun with this and goofing off and stop talking so serious. You ready to have fun?
I may need another drink.
Yeah, we need to pour a little more. I'll let you pour this time.
Oh. Making me work for it.
Yeah. So, anybody in the comments section, if you're here with us, throw out your favorite conspiracy theories or hot takes or. Yeah, that's why I handed it to you. No, you're good. I knew you would. I got a fan requested conspiracy theory tossed at me this morning, and I told him we would talk about it tonight. So, have you ever noticed? Oh, well, I've never noticed. You may have. I have not, in my 35 years, ever seen a new graveyard being built. Like even the grave site where some of my family is in Clanton, I remember being there as a child, and it's still nowhere near full.
Sidebar. Georgia passed a law on the 1st that made human composting legal in Georgia. So now you can be composted as your remains.
So you could just bury yourself out back.
I don't know if that, I think there's some regulations to it, but now it's possible that you don't have to just be buried. You don't have to just like be cremated. You have another option.
That's interesting because I've always wondered like why is there so many regulations about, like I understand if it was suspicious circumstances, but you know if I die of old age in my house and I want to be buried in my backyard on my 100-acre lot, I should be able to. But the conspiracy is, you know, we don't see grave sites or new cemeteries being built, but we have 300 million people in the U.S. I think the number was 1.8 million people die every day, or a year. I think it was a year or something like that. I don't know.
Okay.
Even if it's a year, and only 60% of them get cremated. That was the stat. Where's the other 40% of bodies going?
The rapture?
I mean, they're disappearing somewhere. The conspiracy is that we have been consuming them through the means of like McDonald's, Wendy's, all these fast food chains, because there's not enough cattle to support the beef industry. If the amount of burgers that all these fast food chains are, according to them, are selling, the cattle's and the beef line is not large enough to support that. So where's the other beef coming from, and where are all these bodies going?
Does that make me a cannibal?
Possibly.
I think maybe that's the reason America has such a problem with their mental health,
Yeah,
and other
mental
countries
health,
don't.
obesity, a lot of other stuff. So, let us know in the comment section. Do you think we're eating human remains at
What was that old
McDonald's?
movie, Soylent Green?
Yeah, the Soylent
Yeah.
Green. Yeah. J Max said Helen Keller couldn't actually communicate with Sullivan and was just a scam artist. Also, Einstein plagiarized everything mostly from his wife. Also, Finland isn't real. So, I actually kind of believe the Helen Keller thing. I think that Anne was just bullshitting.
How are you going to prove her wrong? I mean,
Exactly.
you know what I'm saying? Like,
So, I mean, they said that she wrote these books, she did all this stuff, but if you can't hear or see, I mean, how much can you truly absorb through somebody like touching your hand and putting it somewhere?
I think more than we like to think. Because I've dealt with clients on the senior psych unit that are blind and deaf, and they're having to do tactile. So I've had to hire.
Born blind and deaf?
So I've had to do, and they're experiencing psychosis. They're experiencing like all these other things that are related to mental illness. So it feels like such a lonely space to be.
Well, and that's kind of the thing. Like, not to dismiss these people, but where did you have these interactions with these people?
On the psychiatric unit.
Exactly. They're not in productive, functioning areas of the society.
Oh,
And
I mean,
not-
absolutely not.
They're not writing novels about or autobiographies about themselves. They're not doing these amazing things that Helen Keller supposedly did.
I mean, it's true.
Yeah. So I mean, again, not trying to say that they can't, but I don't believe that Helen Keller actually did all that.
I mean,
I've never heard the Einstein one.
that checks out.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like that's a very, very big possibility because it's a great point for Anselm to get in the spotlight.
Oh yeah, 100%.
And there's nobody that can really dispute it.
Exactly. Oh yeah, this is what she said. How do you know? Her hands just moved differently than it did last time. Like,
Oh, right.
oh no, that was her accent. Have you ever heard the Einstein one? Plagiarized his wife.
Mm-mm.
I did hear a story about Einstein. I don't know if it was just a folklore or if it's true or what, but it was about he was doing all these speaking engagements, and he was reciting the same thing almost every time, and he got sick at one point and he couldn't go on. Well, back then people didn't really know what you looked like at the moment because it wasn't like social media. So his driver said, "I can fill in for you." He said, "You can?" He goes, "Yeah, I mean, I've been to hundreds of these. I know exactly what you say. I'll get up there and I'll do the speech." So he did. He got up there, did the speech. Einstein dressed in the driver's outfit, sat in the audience, and somebody asked a question detailing this, and he said, "That question is so simple. I'm going to let my driver answer
Oh,
it."
that's good.
And let Einstein do it, and everybody was astounded and stuff. And it was just that right there. I hope it's true.
That's a great story, regardless.
I hope it's true. Finland isn't real. I have heard that one. I don't know much about that though.
I used to get my watches from Finland, so unless they're sending them,
It's in Switzerland. So hasn't been any other example of someone going deaf and blind that young and having their language center and their brain develop well enough. Yeah. Older, yes, but not that young. Should modern science actually make Jurassic Park a real thing? Charles, I'm glad you joined us. Actually, there's a theory that it exists.
I mean, yes, if it's on an island that's very, very controlled. I think it would be really cool to duplicate, but I don't want it to be like, oh, there's a chance that I'm just going to like float across the ocean and start reproducing them in America.
Oh,
Not that there's a lot of spots in America that they can just roam free anymore, but
yeah. Well, there's a lot of people who have the Mandela effect, and if you watch Dazed and Confused, when they're spinning the globe in the classroom, there's a marking on the map next to Australia. It looks like an island. It's not shown in any maps now. And there's a theory that they actually created Jurassic Park on the island, and it went rogue bad. That's where they based the movies off of, and they shut down the island and removed it from all maps.
I mean, I do believe that Hollywood gives us insight to things that
they
we
leak
don't
a little
know
bit
about.
at a time. Yeah. All right. What about Project Bluebeam? We've seen all this stuff about aliens coming out. Do you know about Project Blue Beam?
Yeah, I do.
So, did you see that over the weekend Georgia had like fireballs falling from the sky in Georgia and some parts of Tennessee, and there were people who I don't know if it's true or not, but they reported that they had a message come across their screen from the Anunnaki talking about the Galactic Federation. So, what's more likely, that we actually are about to experience first contact with alien, like on a broad spectrum, or Project Blue Beam, where the government's playing with our minds to control us?
That's a great question. I think it would be very difficult for a large scale conspiracy to happen just because there's so many moving parts, and I think there's like so much possibility of human fuck up.
Oh, yeah.
Like you can like go into the gym and we could start manipulating and spreading rumors, but like if we all got on the same page, one of us is still going to mess up at some aspect, and that's within a group of like 10 people. I could imagine like there's this worldwide elaborate.
What if it is only 10 people worldwide? Because I mean, you got to think everybody reports to somebody at the top. Like there's somebody at top of like NASA.
I just feel like there's a lot of moving pieces in that piece.
Yeah.
But
Charles said good. Madagascar is a good candidate. I agree.
Yeah.
That could be. Finland thing is just the world census allows for 2.2% error. Finland population is less than that. Nobody ever actually knows anyone from Finland in person. That makes sense.
I used to work for, well, not for the company, but for a company that was based out of Finland. They sold a bunch of like crushing parts, and I can't remember if he was actually from Finland, but he flew to the States. I would like to say he was.
I always thought
but
Sweden and Finland was pretty much the same place.
I'm not a very geographically sound human.
Oh, well, we've done conspiracy theories, but there's some other things that we've started doing on the show, hot takes and deep questions and stuff. And it's been fun, so I figured we carried on with it. Unless anybody else has got any conspiracy theories they want to toss out, we'll jump back and forth if we want to. But I had two hot takes.
Okay.
One, college is a waste of money. How do you feel about that?
I think if you're not going into a specialty, it's potentially a waste of money.
I think if it's not medical or engineering, it can be done with a trade school.
So like I had to go back and do 2.5 years of a master's program to get my counseling degree.
And see, I consider that medical. Just so
yeah, in the health
yeah.
Health industry.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say that like I think even from like a teacher's education standpoint,
Or STEM.
I feel like you could probably find a specialty type program to go through where you would bypass going to college.
Let me STEM classes. So
Okay.
science, technology, engineering, and medical. So I think that those, yes, secondary education, highly important. But even for like my degree, kinesiology, that could have been, I didn't need to go through English 302, 301, and all the other bullshit. I could have done a specialized, 3-year program, 2-year program,
Right.
kinesiology specific, and got the same education.
I understand. Like I feel like we are genuinely supposed to be lifelong education. Like,
I agree
you know what I'm
with
saying?
that,
Like,
yes.
and so I get why they want you to go to college to do this, but at the same time, it's like if I want to be a scientist, like I need to take those specific classes. I don't need to necessarily take history,
Yes.
whatever, or calculus. I don't know, but like I do think that if it's a very acute specialty, yes, I think college can be beneficial. But if you're just going to get a piece of paper, I believe businesses should start taking away, baseline requirement is a college education, because a lot of people don't have the opportunity to do that. And I know a lot of it's just, I just want to see if you're disciplined enough to be able to do something hard for 4 years.
Yeah,
but at the same time, you can
that-
say, hey, I'm going to put you on probation for 12 to 24 months. And if you stick it out, great.
That is exactly what Target did. Target didn't care what your degree was in. All they wanted to see is that you committed to something for 4 years and got a piece of paper.
Mm-hmm.
That piece of paper could have been your gender studies of pygmies in the Eastern Isles, and they would have been like, okay, yeah, Now, it'd have been worthless because there ain't no reason to have that degree, but, so I think it's pointless for medical or engineering if you're able-bodied for the military. But, yeah, I mean, I think military is a great option. Ooh, we jumped quick. Hang on. Let's see. What if we are the aliens and the original life forms are returning after being the Big Bang and looking? Oh man. Okay, so hitting on what Charles just said. Sorry, I'm going back a few minutes. So there is a group of people who I've seen make videos where the aliens that we're seeing are not extraterrestrials. They are Earthlings who have left Earth at light speed, and millions or thousands of years ago, when before the Great Flood and everything, when we had the technology to do so, and they're just now returning. And for them, it's only been a couple hundred years. For us, it's because millions,
because
or thousands.
Einstein's wife, relativity.
That's right. Einstein's wife knew this. Let's see. So what the enlisted side of the Army has gotten, right? I got paid to get my nursing license, only doing classes related to nursing. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't understand why we have to go through the general education courses in college. That's what K through 12 is.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if we don't college should be a specialty. It should be designed to hyper focus on what your goals are. I understand, like, maybe you don't know what your goals are or what division way you want to go.
But take some time to figure that out before you start.
Exactly. Maybe take a year off.
Like, my undergrad was in kinesiology, health promotion, right? I went through 4 years of college, and I didn't enjoy it. I didn't enjoy any of it. But I will say, when I went back and got my master's degree, every single class I took was dedicated to what I was pursuing, and it was the best learning experience of my entire life. I grew so much as a human, and I grew so much of learning how to effectively communicate. I've learned how to like critical thinking skills, like people skills. I learned so much in 2 years because it was so fine-tuned into the specific thing that I was going into.
But then that's the problem. Like, we spend thousands of dollars to get to that point before we even get hyper fixated on the actual goal. I mean, if you're going in your first year and you don't know what you want to do, yes, general studies. But if you declare a major, you know for sure what your goals are, and it's, I want to be electrical engineer. You should not have to take Lit 101 or Spanish 101.
Well, said, an engineer needs to know how to decode a poem that's 600 years old.
No, that's what our next hot take is. AI can handle that for you, because there is a concern that AI is going to put everyone out of a job. Now, that's not my thought. My thought is all it's going to do is replace the people with people who know how to use AI.
So if AI puts everybody out of a job, that means we can just sit around and be creative and actually live our lives instead of having to slave away at 40 to 50 to 60 hours work week.
Yeah.
So if AI wants to do that, and you're going to allow me to pursue creative endeavors and pursue things that are bringing joy and meaning to my life, amen, AI take over.
Well, that's the thing. I don't think AI is going to take people's jobs away. I think it's going to replace people with people who know how to use AI effectively. So I have been self-teaching AI to myself and how to like I've done so much. Like, our thumbnail on yesterday's podcast came from AI. One semester I went to college, I failed a class called freshman orientation because I thought it was a one-day thing. What? A full semester of a class where they announce happenings? That's ridiculous.
That is. That's so bad.
Granted, I probably could have
thought it was a one-day thing. I mean, I get it. I 100% would have been the same way.
Brandon, he's on the same point as me. General education should stop after high school. Yes.
Yeah.
We got some good interactions right now. So, do you have any other hot takes before we move on to the deep questions? Anybody got hot takes in the comment section?
I can't think of any hot takes off the top of my head.
All right. We'll go into the deep questions now. So, if you could learn the truth to one question, what would you ask?
Oof.
You only get one.
Oh, let me think about that. If I could learn the truth to one question, what would you ask?
Would steroids actually hurt me? No, I'm just kidding. Is cocaine that bad?
As long as it's not laced with fentanyl. I don't know. It would have to be tied to kind of ultimate meaning.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but that can be rounded as like you create your own meaning, your own purpose.
Oh
So,
yeah,
like
I could see it like
it could backfire real quick.
Oh, yeah. What's the genie where they grant your wish but in the worst way possible? Like that'd be the answer in the worst way possible.
That's it. That's a great question. What would yours be?
I think it would just be clarification about afterlife.
Hmm.
Because I'm a firm believer of God, heaven, everything else, but the thing is, everything we know about that has been passed down through generations and generations and generations. So I just want, like, hey, give me a
Irrefutable evidence.
give me a full layout. Is my soulmate going to meet me in heaven? And if so, what about the people who married like 3 different people? Are they going to have like a
Split
really
soulmates?
awkward situation when they get there? Because, and not to make light of the situation, but they brought it up at we went to a funeral recently to one of Alex's relatives, and she had a long relationship with a man who passed away, and she had another like 30-year relationship, like 2 30-year relationships.
Yeah.
And he's like, they're going to be fighting it out in heaven on who gets to spend eternity with her. And I'm like, I never thought about that. Like, what about those type of situations?
I personally like to think that we transcend that type of emotion when we get there, and we're seeing things on a different level.
See, I can't think too much like that because Alex is the main reason why I want to be a good person, so I can spend all my eternity with her afterwards. If you're listening, Alex, I'm not buttering you up. But no, I think that would be mine.
But Charles said mine would be if any of the hundreds of religions are true, and which one, if so.
And I think there's so, like, again, full devout, but I do think that every religion kind of bleeds into each other. There's so
truth in
much
every
crossover
religion.
in it.
Yeah.
The biggest takeaway is, just be a good person. Don't hurt others. The golden rule, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. But I would love to know, what actually happens.
I think that's the biggest mystery on the planet is no one knows 100% evidence based what happens when we die. We have faith and we have belief, but we don't know.
I could do a whole episode talking about this. Probably shouldn't, but I could. Jake said, I heard a cool take on AI. Anytime we have breakthroughs like the jobs are replaced, but it accelerates new technologies and new jobs needed for humans. That's a great example, yeah.
Yeah.
I'd agree with that take. We may be a few years, but at least in better page. Oh, yeah. Because here's the thing. No matter what, it's not physical. I mean, even if they built robots, somebody's got to work on the robots.
Right.
There's always going to be a need for human capacity. I don't think it's going to wipe away an entire workforce. It's just going to transition what you do. So you may not be the one writing code. You'll be the one inputting to AI what the code needs to look like.
Or managing to make sure that they're appropriately doing the code.
Exactly. Because, again, this past weekend, we live streamed a show in North Carolina, and the people who own Iron Podium, where all the scoring goes in, they sent me a back-end link to the API, which I have no clue what that means. I just know it was called the API. And they were like, this is what so-and-so uses to get their scoring and stuff. So I was like, okay. Copy and paste, put it in the Chat GPT and Grok, 2 different AIs. I challenged them to go against each other. I essentially said, do this to both of them. Chat GPT kind of failed miserably, but Grok, I said, take this, I want this, and it wrote me a long code that didn't work. I said, okay, it didn't work. This is what I want you to change about it. After about 3 turns, it finally started working. We had a ticker going across the top of the screen that said everybody's scores for the top 10 in each class, and it changed periodically as people updated the scores.
That's awesome.
And I was like, I can't write code.
No.
Chat GPT can write code or Grok, but something had to input it into that. Let's see. personally don't want to know because of what if it's nothing. I fully agree with it. Treat everyone right and karma is real. Just know how to keep going.
Well, that goes into a deeper philosophical question. If it is nothing, are you still going to establish meaning in your life and the remainder of your life? Well, I'm going to get into like super dark philosophies that I've been researching the last little 6 months. But
The one thing I'll say is on that, I'm comfortable asking the question because I have zero doubt that it's nothing. Like I am 100% convinced there that is something because they have weighed human bodies at the moment of death, and there is a clear loss of weight, mass, and
the poop.
no, it's on the scale still. It's still on the scale. That happens, but it's still on the scale. There is a loss of mass when someone dies, the moment of death. That's got to be the spirit. It's got to be the electrical impulse in our bodies. Everything's electrical. That is something. Whether it goes into space and just mixes in with cosmos, whatever, something happens to that.
Yeah.
And that's our essence. That's who we are. That's why we are who we are, and we're different. So even if it's if it's not my religion that what's true, something's got to be there. Something's got to happen.
I mean, like, I look at just the world that we are currently living in, and so it doesn't make sense that my mind is of this world, so it'd be hard for me to try to understand that something not of this world.
Yeah.
And so for me, I look and observe of my surroundings, and almost everything that's based in nature is cyclical and pattern. So I would personally feel like I'm also on some sort of cycle. I grow from this little tiny thing into kind of a stronger dude, and then I go into this really feeble, weak thing, and then I die. So I don't know that cycle doesn't repeat, but it feels like a cycle, as it was with the seasons and things like that. And so I take comfort in seeing that and just observing that. But yeah.
So leaving a positive legacy, only thing we can control, big or small. That actually leads into the final deep question, which is perfect. What do you want to be remembered for? Of everything in your life, one thing. What's the number one thing you want to be remembered for?
Probably my bench press. It's so high.
Okay.
No, I mean,
All right, Trey.
my traps. Like, I don't know.
I'm going to clip this part right here and share it for sure. Oh, that's hilarious.
No, I think it is. I just want to. I think I'd want to be known that I tried to do good as much as I possibly could, and I was there for people that didn't have a voice or that was in need. I mean, I'm not trying to be a humanitarianism or whatever you want to call it, but I just like
human terrorism.
Yeah, terrorism. I want to be a human terrorist. Humanitarian.
Yes, that's a humanitarian.
So it's I don't know. I just it feels so much better to do good than it doesn't.
Oh.
And so it just like as long as I'm doing good and trying to I don't need to be known for doing something great. I don't need to be like, oh, he implemented this program or implemented this policy. Just that I had an impact on somebody's life.
Yeah.
Or the community that I was a part of. I think that's that I was just doing my small little part to make men better.
I like that.
The bench press.
Bench press. Yeah. No, that was good. I think mine would just make sure that my kids and my family have the best life that they possibly can. I come from a rough situation. I don't have much relationship with most of my family, and I don't want that for my kids. I never met majority of my uncles on my dad's side. They either passed away or they just were not in the picture. I didn't have a relationship with my dad after I was 17, 16.
Yeah.
Hell, my brother passed away a couple of years ago, so my girls have never met him.
Yeah.
My older brother, me and him haven't spoken since my father died.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't want my kids to have that. I want what to be remembered for is keeping my family, starting at this generation, connected. Because Alex is, when we go, like in just a few weeks, we're going to a family reunion.
Yeah.
There is like 6 or 7 generations at this family reunion. And even though when the first year I went, which was, it's crazy to think, is 12 years ago, the first one I went to, the generation that started it, there's none of them left.
Yeah.
The last one who passed away was this year. He passed away. That was the funeral we went to a couple weeks ago. That generation's gone, but it's lived on now, and there's still 6, 7 generations of family.
That's awesome.
Getting together. We take up the Gunnersville.
Yeah.
The pavilion and all those cabins around it.
Mm-hmm.
We rent out all of those, and we're packing it out. You know, that's what I want in 5, 6 generations. I want that from my side of the family.
Right. Right.
So yeah, I think that's what I want.
Oh, and I think, honestly, just from an observation standpoint, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about how much you care about your family, how much you implement them and your love and joy into everyday life with them. It's
Appreciate
huge.
it.
It's huge. And I like it. I like to be a part of that.
You're definitely part of Uncle Zach. There he is.
No, but it is. I don't think there's any doubt in anybody's eyes that that's not something
Appreciate
that you're
that.
pushing towards.
I appreciate that. Oh, well, we're a little over an hour. Unless anybody in the comments has anything they want to chime in, any other conspiracy theories or hot takes or deep questions they want to ask, I think we're going to wrap this up. But I appreciate you doing this with me.
Yeah, this was great. It's been a long time since we've done one.
Yeah, we got to get better about doing these. I would love to get Alex back on, make it a whiskey waits wine.
You hear that, Alex?
I don't know if she's still with us. She's busy getting the girls ready for bed, and I feel bad that I'm over here drinking whiskey while she's working hard with the family. As I talk about wanting to be a good father,
Right?
But no, I do hope she gets on soon, and we need to start bringing some guests on.
Heck yeah.
A few of our clients have mentioned Brandon. Like there's a few of them that I want to get on here, but they're hesitant to be on camera. They're a little camera shy.
I need to get my sister on. She just took a new job in Tuscaloosa.
Yes.
And she just transitioned to a 7A school out of Coleman. And
Yeah.
so I need to get her on.
I've been trying to get Trey on it, but he's just not a drinker. So
It's okay. I respect that, Trey.
But we'll try to get some guests on, do some deep conversations, and then have fun with it. I like the way we've done this. We started this new kind of template of the show first of the year.
Mm-hmm.
Serious conversations, helpful, mental, physical, and then just goofy at the end. But looks like we are. Oh, Brandon said,
Heck yeah.
All right.
There it is.
Next week, or not next week, but the next time we do this, might
Yeah.
be next week. All right. We'll get a second camera set up in here. Well, thank you for everybody who joined us. We are going to wrap up. Remember, no one cares.
Train harder.
Just do your thing. Wake up, today's gonna be a good day. Wake up, today's gonna be a good day.